Part of the simple rules, again, we're into respecting the material. Respect here is the key. Okay, you have to have it in your mind, and it has to be to the forefront of your mind. This isn't plasterboard, this is a pre-finished, highly expensive, highly engineered material that once you want to put it up once. If you come back and have to go back to it again, it's costing you guys money. Not costing us. She's still going to get paid, hopefully. Yeah? We're not going to do any extra, but it's going to cost you guys. It's going to be coming out of your cut of the whole scheme. Okay? So what we're going to look at here is some simple stuff to do with like panel storage, how to handle it, how to cut it, drill it, some health and safety as well. Okay? Very, very simple, you know. Just common sense stuff, guys, you know. Enough bearers, don't leave it out in the rain. Protect it from both water. And why would we say protect it from sunlight?
Discoloration.
And this is coming from my own guys. Not discoloration, no. Because it's going to be up on the wall anyway.
It will expand and then you put it up and then it shrinks.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be the same as the aluminium, but no, that's not the answer. Basically what happens is we protect from sunlight because of the heat. And what happens when you warm something up and you have plastic covers and everything on it? It can sweat. Condensate is a much nicer word. You know what I mean? You can start to condensate, moisture can build up inside, moisture gets stuck in between the panels, you take out the panel, all of a sudden you're going to get mild efflorescence. This is severe efflorescence, by the way, when things go drastically wrong on storage. Okay? Now, this is a particular job in a sunny climate. No names are going to be mentioned, no places. But it's not in South Africa, it's on the edges of Europe. So it's in a warm area. See all this white staining? Oh yeah, there you go. See all this white staining around the edges here like this? Yeah? All of that, that's efflorescence. That's what it looks like when it's on the surface of the material. So you imagine a dark panel with all that white stuff on it. Now what is interesting here is, see this particular straight line that's here on this side? Yeah? That's not natural. See these straight lines of efflorescence here? That's not natural efflorescence. I know for a fact by just looking at that they were left out on the ground with a panel thrown on top of them. Because efflorescence doesn't go in straight lines. Okay? Efflorescence. Here you go. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the water droplets in here in the plastic. What was even a bigger concern to us was, I don't know if you can see it there, but when we went to visit the job, miraculously, all of these pallets were inside in the warehouse. Oh, they were never outside. Okay, well why are the metal straps rusting? The top of the metal straps along all the stuff was rusting. These panels have been outside for 3 months. From the day they were delivered to the job site, there was a delay on starting until they started opening the pallets and fixing the pallets on the wall. And what was a bigger concern to me is that they actually fixed the pallets with the panels with the efflorescence on them. Now, to me, that shows a complete lack of respect for the material and what they're doing on the job site. Okay? There you go. Stuck to it. There you go. Look, it's fixed to the wall. Same job. Footprints all over the panels. Yeah, not even cleaned. Yeah, yeah. The rivets are nice in line as well. Look. Yeah.
It looks like we did it.
Yeah. I know you're not that bad yet, guys. Yeah. To me, the job was a complete disaster. And of course, it was always our fault, the panel manufacturer's fault. None of this, they caused any of this. All right. There's a classic example. USA, Colorado. Here's a pallet of material, all pre-cut in their fabrication yard. Has been delivered to the job site, which is here. This is roughly the edge of the security barrier around the job site. But for some reason, these guys decided to put the pallets outside the security fence, on the side of the street, and work from the panels from there. I was there and I was watching, and all of a sudden, ding dong, school finishes, kids are walking up the road here. Something to jump on. Kids will be kids, huh? If it's there, they'll have a go at it. And all I seen for about 10 minutes was the kids jumping up on this side, running across and jumping down on this side. I didn't mind so much. It was just the panels. What happens if one of them slipped? The kid fell over, cut himself, injured himself. Huh? How much insurance do you have, guys? Won't be enough for something like that. Play it smart, you know. You've got to think about not only just the handling of the material, how you store it, how you transport it, where you put it on the job site. All you've got to do is be street smart and use your common sense. Okay? If not, you could end up in severe problems. Ideally, have an area cordoned off on the job site that is your area. Now, that's very difficult to do once they've accepted your quotation and you're on the job to do it, but it should be something. Being a pre-finished architectural material, you can convince the main contractor to give you some space if possible. If there's enough space on the job site to do it, that it becomes your area. Stick up some barriers, keep everybody else out, keep your stuff nice and safe. Okay? Do not slide, lift panels, carry them up vertical, up straight. Another thing to plan out as well during the handling process is how are the main contractor proposing they give you access up the building. Is it scaffolding? Is it hoists? Is it lifts? Whatever. Decide on a suitable route. Moving a 3 metre by 1250 panel through loads of scaffolding poles and bracing and up and down ladders and stuff, if there's no staging decks and things like that. It may sound obvious, guys, I'm just giving you the experience of what I've come across in the past. And these things, if we just raise them now, will stop you having problems in the future. Uneven walking surfaces, obstacles on the scaffolding. You know, are you expected to bring the material across where other people are working with all their tools, wires, materials and stuff like that? Just bear it in mind. Gloves. Spoke a little bit about this earlier on. I don't know whether it was inside yesterday or last night or wherever. But when you're working with some of the materials, particularly the white material, your fingerprints and the oil on your skin can actually leave marks that then you will have to come and clean off. Same way if you're working with dark panels and light panels, if you have the dust from the dark panels can actually end up on the lighter panels, you've then got to clean it off. So maybe stopping that risk at an early stage by using gloves. A very common glove to use is like these linen type gloves, these clothy gloves, which are very soft. It still gives you a little bit of feeling in your fingers when you're handling and stuff. However, we did have a bit of point of concern on them, is particularly if you're working in wet weather. Being a cement-based material, if the cement dust gets in with the water, it'll soak through the glove and then it's in contact with your skin. You'll end up with skin burns.
Our guys complain even when it's not wet, because if you have the gloves on and you sweat and the dust goes in, it's still the same.
The same, exactly.
And
They don't last at all. The panel is eating.
Yeah. There is other gloves and stuff that can be got, you know, you just have to go. I don't know what's here in South Africa and stuff, but you know, a little bit of research on ones that are waterproof and you still maintain that feel and stuff, that are easy to clean, that will prevent that happening, you know, are ones to be looking for with the guys on the site. Personally, guys, I know we have to use them and stuff, but sometimes I do get caught without using the gloves myself because I do like to feel what I'm handling. But it's just to be careful on what gloves are used. Also, temporary storage. You know, if you're working on scaffolding, if you're on a moving, you know, these moving platforms up and down, if you're on a high system, if you're on a scissor lift or whatever, just be conscious. You know, you're dropping the panels down on metal. Use a bit of insulation, use a little bit of soft material, a bit of carpet, a bit of timber, a bit of carpet or something to rest the material on as you're transporting it around. Also, it makes it a lot easier to lift it, to drop it down. You know, you have a big panel, you're dropping it down, guys are usually holding it. At least here, there's a little space you can get your hand in underneath it, right? Saves damaging the edges. By the way, this is only temporary. You do not leave this for 2 or 3 days like this. These are being cut and they're ready to go up the hoist up, so they're just left beside the hoist. Okay? Suction pads, fine, okay. Just make sure they're clean. I had a picture of one on the on our material, but you couldn't see it on the screen, so I just picked this one. They do leave a residue on the material as well, that sometimes if it rains or the sun hits it, you actually see the little rings. What I would say about these is that these are fine on the smooth surface materials. However, on the likes of the Linea and the Materia, definitely won't work on the Linea. You have to come up with another way of handling the material around, whether it's straps underneath the edges of the panel or whatever, but they don't work on that. Do guys use these, by the way?
No.
Nah? Okay. Strange. Okay. Remember, this is for you guys. You know, do not spend time having to replace or repair something that you've done before or whatever. You know, the storage, the handling of the material, if you don't do it correctly, you know, sometimes these things can't be corrected. The material just has to be chucked away, a new material will have to be bought. But how you get it around the site, prevent as many scratches and all the rest of it, you know, to do it, and you'll have more money at the end of the day for doing it. It won't cost you as much. Right, moving on to the tools. Anything on the previous section? Okay. Moving on to the tools. Personally, we don't ask for any special tools. People see a picture of a Festo stool in one of our brochures, go, oh yeah, I must get the Festo saw. Huh? Miranda, do you realise how much this thing costs? Yeah? What are we using tomorrow? What's the saw we have?
Makita.
No, it's not Makita.
That does what's up.
We have a Metabo saw with a Makita vacuum system. I also use Mafel, Festo, Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee and Bosch as saws. Okay? The saw is not the important thing. Okay, not every saw is ideal, and we'll explain why and which ones are the best, but the equipment themselves makes no difference. What is important is the accessories that go with the tools. The saw blade, the jigsaw blades, the drill bits, and the centralizing tool is a very handy tool to have. If you're cutting timber, or say you're cutting ceramics, you don't use a timber blade. If you're cutting aluminium, you don't use a ceramics blade. So why the hell would you use a timber blade for cutting fibre cement? It's a material in its own right. There is stuff and accessories that have been developed and are available from us and from other people. I'm not pushing the ones that we sell. The reason why we have them to supply them is to make it easy. If you get them from us, you know they're going to work. If you buy them from someone else, go test them, make sure you're happy with them.
So that saw blade,
Yeah,
that type of blade cuts all the panel.
yeah. It's a fibre cement blade.
So it cuts
The
all
one
the
with only the four little.
Yeah, it's got 4 teeth on the 160 blade, it's got 8 teeth on the 300 blade. Yeah? You'll see it, I have it inside, you can see it. Okay? Now what is important for the saws, if you are looking at getting a saw for side cutting, we'll concentrate on side cutting, is you're recommended better to have an enclosed blade for dust. Yeah? We had great fun yesterday with our saw, didn't we? Right? And it's going to look such an amateurish job, but our saw is covered with cardboard, huh? To stop, just to prevent the dust blowing everywhere, right? You're right. There's a cement dust. When you're cutting it, it's a very fine dust is the result of cutting and drilling. Not so much drilling, sorry, just cutting. And you've got to protect against that. A vacuum system helps take away the dust. This thing is a lifesaver. Do you use these for your side cutting? The tracks, the rails, yeah? Absolutely unbelievable piece of kit. Put it on, we'll show you how it works later on. But that's the saving grace. If you try and cut freehand with these saws, you might as well just give up, because you'll chip the edges and everything. Just as an example, this is the Rolls Royce of saws. It's from Mafel. It's lightweight, it weighs about 6 kilos I think in total, including the 3-meter track. And all you do is you arrange it, you plump it down, you press a button here, the saw goes down, pops up, and the saw comes back, and off you go. Right? Mafel. Mafel ones, okay? And the next question is, I don't know how much it costs, but it costs more than everything else.
Exactly.
Alright? It's like a one-man operation. Well, the other ones is one man as well, but that's quite quick. It's the Rolls Royce of saws.
But then there's less chance of getting anything wrong. Like only over 21 or half an hour.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, if you're using the proper ones of these are very good as well. Huh?
But We'll talk about the disadvantages of this machinery.
What, this?
Yeah, the festival one even.
Yeah, well, I don't have the Festo tool on.
We have it the most.
Yeah? They're all slightly different. They all have different designs and stuff, you know.
The Vulcan Feast tool, the price is exactly the same. You can use the one tool on the other.
Okay. All right.
Exactly the same.
What this does is really speeds up the process because you just mark at 2 points and it stays in place. Maintains a straight line. You don't have to clamp it down. You know, it's got pads on it. It stops the vibration of the saw blade as you're pushing through the thing. So it stops the blade moving like this, which is a risk of chipping. Avoids chipping the edge. Now, what is important with these saw blades is normally, particularly R1, this blade speed is normally between 4,000 and 6,000 RPM. If you're getting a saw, to buy a saw, make sure it has adjustable speeds on it or is running at speeds between this. The saw runs fast, you can push it a lot faster. Okay? The blade lasts for more than 5,000 meters of cutting. Okay? If you have the company that does the saw blades, or there's companies here that can take them away, resharpen them, re-pop back on the diamonds and send it back to you if need be. But it's a lot of cutting with the one blade. Of course, you can use the standard tungsten tip blades like this. And if you're very careful, you can get a very nice finish on the edge of the boards equivalent to the other blade. However, this blade is running at 1,000, which means you have to push it very slowly. I think under a test it worked out maybe 5, closer to 6 times slower to cut the panel with this blade, and you get between 50 and 100 meters of cutting out of it. So, and of course it's much cheaper. However,
An aluminium blade cut 100%, but it doesn't last.
exactly. You done the same, you left the aluminium blade in by mistake and yeah, it eats the aluminium blade, yeah?
Yeah.
So, you know, for emergencies or whatever, okay, this blade will do, but after 50 meters you should chuck it and get another one, okay? So the other one is lasting, you know, 100 times longer than this one. I wish I could charge 100 times more for it, but I can't, okay? Jigsaws, you're lucky enough with jigsaws. Bosch do hard metal 141 blade that basically fits, I think, nearly every jigsaw. And it's a fantastic blade for cutting with a jigsaw. Okay? And they're not that expensive. I think they're about 22 euros for a pack of 3 in Europe. And they should be available. We have them for convenience, but they're available in any good tool shops as well. Okay? They're a very good blade. The only thing about jigsaw, turn the pendulum off. That's where the blade can twist on itself. Make sure the blade is cutting in one direction. Yeah? Okay? Right. Panel must be stable and not sag. And must be of easy reach. Right. Because I'm an old guy and I have a lot of experience traveling around, we done a big training on a big hospital we had in Santiago, Chile, 2 years ago. And I sent down the requirements to have a workbench, and they done the best workbench you ever see. They had a proper metal bench with a timber top on it, and then they put these timber pads on top, and then they put carpet on top of the timber pads so the panel can move around easy on it. And when you're cutting, you're cutting in between these little blocks. Fantastic. However, what they forgot is that the table started at that height. The blocks ended up at that height with the carpet, so by the time we finished, the panel was about this high off the ground. So you can't get across the panel when you're cutting. So straight away it becomes a health and safety risk in the sense that you've now got to stand on something to get the saw across to the other side of the panel. Also, when you're side cutting, working with a saw at this level is a lot more strenuous than working at a saw at that level. So when you come to working out a table or whatever, cut the legs off it, keep it down low so you can easily reach across on the 1200 length. Okay? Next discussion was going to be, should we cut face up or face down? Okay. You prefer face up?
It doesn't chip so much.
Does everybody agree with that statement? What she said is she thinks that cutting face up is better because it chips the panel less. Do we have agreement or disagreement with that statement?
Since yesterday, I just tried.
Not the blade. You're probably using a different type of saw, right? Which way does the blade revolve?
It's not going to
Are you sure?
this way.
Does it go, yeah? Does it go the normal way or does it go the other way?
The other way, front way.
Correct. That's your answer. What happens is, it depends which way the blade is moving. If, as 90% of site saws move from down to up, you must cut into the surface. If you're in a fabricator situation on industrial saws, sometimes the blade is moving down. If it moves down, it's face up. If it's moving up, it's face down. So, simple rule of thumb, whichever way the blade is moving, you go the opposite way with the panel. Okay?
The black was equal.
Must push. It must push into the surface, into the face. Yeah? Okay? But it's an unusual saw, to be honest with you. 90% of the hand saws go the opposite direction. Okay? Now, what we normally do after cutting is we just give the edge a little rub of sandpaper. It softens the edge. It just takes that little straightness off the edge, and it's now for you guys. Okay, you might say, "Oh, this is a pain in the butt. Why the hell should I do this?" Remember what we said earlier in the morning. What we're trying to do here is to give you more tolerance on everything. Yeah. By softening the edge of the panel, any imperfections, any saw blades that might have done something on the edge is kind of hidden away and out of sight. Okay. It also means that if you put it up the panel and stuff, you know, by having that little softening of the edge on it, you're not looking at two things coming in 90 degrees to each other. It just widens the joint that little bit more for your eye as well. So while your joint is 10 millimeters, by the time you've softened the edge, the outside of the panel is that little bit wider, there's more tolerance for you guys. Okay? A lot of times you can use flat. One of the tricks we do use is having a piece of timber cut chamfered out like this with the sandpaper running around. So you're actually sanding in one swipe instead of going up and back. Yeah? I don't charge any extra for this information, by the way. Yeah? It's all included in the nominal fee.
But it's also not going to give us one.
Huh?
Remember, I wanted to
To be honest with you, if you can't find a guy here to cut two cuts out of a piece of timber, I tell you, South Africa is in a sad state of affairs. All right?
But remember, all our qualified people go to you.
Huh? Well, I tell you one thing, they don't come to Ireland. Huh? Unless they're coming.
You don't have any good installers there.
We have, but they're usually Irish guys, huh? There's good installers and bad installers in every country. Yeah. Right, when you're looking at the coated panels, right, hold our hands up. This isn't an ideal situation either. However, all coated fibre cement panels have the same requirements. When you cut on the job site, for the coated panels, we have a thing called Luco. It should be called Loco, but it's called Luco. And basically what it is, it's like a sealant that protects from temporary efflorescence on the edges of the material. When you've cut the material and it gets absolutely sopping wet, which is a risk when you're doing the installing, what can happen is the edges could go white. And particularly on external corners where you're seeing the edge and stuff, the architect could pick yours up on it, right? And once it happens, it's a bit too late to rectify it. And you know, payments get delayed, people start writing letters, blah, 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 blah. By simply putting the Luco on the edges, it kind of stops that from happening and reduces the risk of it, okay? It also stops edge staining after installation. So if you get stuck, I don't know if you're all around here last night, but when the heavens opened, it really rained down last night. Now if you had panels temporarily on the wall that weren't fixed up and done properly, they would be under risk today of maybe having some edge staining where there's such volumes of water during the construction stage, particularly on the top panel, where the water might be running down the backs of the panel and stuff like that. It's only temporary. What the Luco does is it protects it against it happening. Okay, we're going to do this today. I'll show you the best way of putting it on. It's already done in the factory. If you order this panels cut from the factory, it's done in the factory for you already. However, getting from Germany or whatever to here, it may be worthwhile just reapplying it. if you end up doing anything with this panel on the job site. Full coverage is important, and what I would say is always use the proper applicator. And we have some examples of applicators inside, and we'll show you the pluses and minuses of each one today. Okay, drill bits. Why the hell should I pay that much for the drill bit?
And what did the other ones make? Because there's things that like diamond.
2 hands, please. Put down the pen. Now you tell me the difference.
Heavy.
Yeah. That's a 10 millimeter, that's 11 millimeter, and it's smaller. But what's the difference is R1 is much heavier than the other one. Huh? Well, the answer to that is don't let it fall. Yeah? Basically, if you look at standard drill bits, the cheaper ones, okay? They're usually made up of 2 materials. The center is usually a soft metal and the outside is coated with a hard metal. So once you've worn through the hard metal here and you're into the soft and you resharpen, it's not going to last the same amount of time the second time and the third time. This one that you have here from us is hard metal the whole way through. It's the one material. Okay? It has a specially designed head here, angle here, to prevent slipping on the surface. And the so-called blades that do the cutting actually cut the material. Yeah?
It's not taking the material away.
It just lifts it up out of it, yeah? You see it today. That's the difference with that drill bit and the other drill bit. It also, guys, it lasts forever nearly. I won't say forever because somebody come back and sue me. How many hours? I haven't a clue.
Yeah, I guess it's not last long.
In our training centre in Germany, we still have the ones we were using 10 years ago. Yeah? They just last. It's like you say, the biggest issue you have with having, you don't have to replace one for getting wore out because you can resharpen it. Send it to a shop, get it resharpened at the same angle at the top. It'll keep going and going and going. The biggest issue for replacing them is that they seem to grow legs and walk into other people's toolboxes. That's what happens to them. That's why we end up having to resell them. If you buy it once, it'll last you. For you guys, you only need a 7 for wood fixing and an 11 now for rivet fixing. If you're cutting large holes or whatever in it, Metabo do these core cutters, which are tipped as well. Okay? But other companies do them as well. Okay? Any questions there on that? It'll be more self-explanatory when we get inside into the training centre. This is what happens with our bits. You can see here where with a standard masonry bit, it gets very fine dust and coming out of it because it ends up sort of burning it. Yeah? Yeah. What happens here is you get you're ensured a clean hole, no slipping of the drill bit and no burning of the panel. Once the other drills start wearing out and you start putting pressure on, it starts burning the panel. Yeah. Sawing and drilling takes place in a dry place, wind free. Be very careful if you're doing it indoors and stuff. For the dust extraction, make sure the guys, your workers and stuff have there's some kind of vacuum system. We will always recommend that the dust is taken away straight away. We have some linen cloths in here. There's Microsoft cloths available, Vileda. They're only €1 a piece or whatever. It's not an expensive item. Don't start using water and scouring pads and stuff to clean off dust. Primarily one of the reasons for doing this and cleaning and stuff is that when the panel goes up and on the job site, if there's cement dust on the surface of the panel and you get a rain on the panel, what can happen is that the cement dust then sticks to the surface of the panel and it's going to be harder to clean off. Okay? It's much easier to take away the dust when it's dry. Okay? Now, if you're working with the likes of the Materia or you're working with the likes of the Linnea or some of these panels, you can have an air gun to blow off the dust as well, of course. Huh? But take away the dust. Removing stains. For painted material, back to the children's school bag. These little white rubbers. Yeah? Guys, you never see this information written down in any of these technical documents, do you? Huh? That is fantastic on the coated materials for taking off your pencil marks or light marks that are on the surface. If you have more stubborn marks, ammonia-free window cleaner. There's a particular brand in Germany we use which is called Green Frog. It's available from Aldi or Lidl. Quick spray of that, rub it down, it takes off most of the stubborn stains. It must be ammonia free. Ammonia and alkali don't like each other either. And for the Tectiva only, see this word here, only, you can use a small bit of sandpaper to take away stubborn stains. Right? Because the surface is uncoated, the surface has already been sanded. But for God's sake, or whoever is up there, make sure you put the sanding in the same direction it is on the panel. And not a nice circle, no. Right? And what happens there is all you're doing is you're just taking a fraction of a millimeter off the surface where the stain was, give it a quick rub and a wipe, and that gets rid of any stains and stuff like that. Okay? Same way with minor scratches, you can do it as well. Alright? Health and safety. It's an issue, but not a big issue. Bit of PPE, gloves, goggles, face mask and stuff like that. Nothing dramatic. There is material health and safety data sheets available for all the materials. Just make sure you have them on file if anything happens. It tells you what to happen if guys swallow the dust or
But they
dust.
say the MSDs is not hazardous, but it is still bad for you. But there's no chemicals in that.
Yeah, there's no chemicals in it. What it is it's the fine dust. And it's basically, to let you know, it's probably the silica dust, which is a constitute of any concrete material where you have sand and you have cement used. And once you start cutting it and it gets to a fine dust, that's where the danger comes in. Yeah? So that's the concern you'd have. Okay? But it's not dramatic in the sense that you have to wear spaceman suits and whatever to operate with it. Just a little bit of common sense, as I said. Okay? Give me the 4 important points here. I know you're falling asleep, that's why the question comes. Yeah? That's the master heading. Underneath respects, we have storage and handling, yeah?
Yes.
Cutting and drilling. Use the correct accessories. Yeah, the handling. Remove the dust. And what was the last slide we spoke about? Safety. Yeah. And to be honest with you guys, simply, if these are respected, we now have a good installer, successful facade, everybody makes money and goes away happy. And if you ignore these items, high risk of future problems, don't come running to us complaining and moaning about it. This is your responsibility in the whole process.